How's it, everyone? My name's Bruce. I'm an addict. I'm 35 years old and today I'm 953 days sober. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey to getting to me into the seat. So I'm lucky. I'm truly blessed. I came from a loving home. I've got parents who are still together. I have a brother and sister that I really get along with. I love them. I came from an awesome upbringing. I couldn't have asked for anything more as a child. So for me, I've got nothing to lean back on and blame for my addiction. I became a drug addict because I was naive enough to think that it wouldn't happen to me. I used and I loved it, and then I used to the point where no matter what I tried, I could not stop. So the thing that I think I'm most glad that is not part of my life anymore about active addiction was drug addiction robbed me of the capability to be a good person. I had to choose between getting and using or showing compassion, getting and using or making the right decision, getting or using or putting someone else's well-being before mine. And whenever I was put in a position where I had to choose between anything and my using, I had to choose to use. That choice was already made. I can remember almost feeling like there was a voice inside of my head that would say to me when I got to that point where I had to make the decision, why are we even doing this? We know what the outcome's going to be. I would go and get and I would go and use. I broke my shoulder once. I fell off a bike, I broke my shoulder, and a normal response to that would be to phone an ambulance and go to hospital. I couldn't go to hospital directly. I couldn't sit in the hospital for 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, whatever it would take, without knowing that I had some kind of substance with me. So when I broke my shoulder, I had to go and pick up first. I had to go pick up, drive myself to hospital with a broken shoulder, using on the way, and so that I could use in my time that I was in the hospital. Choosing my well-being or getting and using, I had to choose to go and get and use. Throughout most of my active addiction, I had the same girlfriend. I really loved her. I cared about her. We were together for a long time, and she fell pregnant. And my parents found out. We spoke to them about it, and then we decided while we were with my parents that it was going to be something that we're going to do. We're going to have a baby. My parents were going to help out and stuff. And I said, "Cool, I'll go along with this. This is what I'll do. It's the right thing to do. I'll have a baby." I said that in that conversation so that I could get home and get out of that conversation and go and use. And as soon as I used, I told my girlfriend, absolutely no ways we're having a baby. I could not sustain my addiction and provide for a family, and I chose to carry on using instead of starting a family. So I was desperate to get help, so I was glad that I was going to go and get some kind of help, but I wasn't ecstatic about. I wanted to get help so that I could stop drinking. I had no intention to stop using drugs. So I wasn't looking forward to having to give that side of my life up, but I was looking forward to going through a good detox and hopefully getting to the point where I didn't drink anymore, but I could manage my drug use successfully. So I wanted some form of help, but I didn't really want to give up everything all at once. I didn't realize that this was a program that, where I was going to give up everything. I wanted detox. Yeah, to be honest, that's what I wanted. I wanted to go somewhere, go through detox. I didn't want to go through with the withdrawals that I always went through when I stopped. So my plan was to go to rehab, go through the detox, get out, definitely not drink, and use specific drugs that I felt like I didn't have a problem with, and then move on with my life. Had absolutely no intention to do long-term treatment. It's probably the biggest moment that I can remember having in primary care was about 2 weeks in, where I actually said the words, "My name is Bruce and I am an addict." I was comfortable to admit that I was an alcoholic. I felt like I had already exposed that side of me, and that saying that I was an alcoholic was like a lighter version. I have a problem, but I don't have a problem that's as bad as you guys who are drug addicts and that. But through the counseling that I went through in the group therapy and stuff, and I started to relate to a lot of the people, what they were talking about, and that I realized I am an addict. Drugs, alcohol, sex, food, whatever it is, there's anything like that I could, if I do it, I usually overindulge. And I felt a huge sense of relief when I finally admitted that I'm an addict. I think every part of the staff had a part to play. They were all excellent, but my addiction counselor that did our group therapy with us, he was the one who got me to the point where I could open my eyes and be like, this is it, I'm an addict. The greatest gift that I've gotten out of being clean now is that I finally have that choice back. I can choose to be honest, and there's nothing stopping me from being honest. I can choose to be compassionate, and I've got my moral compass back without anything forcing me to go in another direction. I was very lucky. As I mentioned, I've got a loving family. So when I was at my worst, at 32, I'd basically gone from having a girlfriend, a home, a fully furnished house, dogs, a life, a job, to 32 years old, living in a single room in my parents' bedroom, in my parents' house, and my entire world was a single bed and a couple bottles of alcohol and a bag of drugs. At that point, I absolutely hated my life. I hated everything that I'd become. I hated every day. I had nothing to look forward to. There was nothing keeping me going, and I was desperate to stop using, but I couldn't. I tried and I failed so many times. I failed at stopping to use. I failed at quitting, to the point where I gave up. I just accepted the fact that there was no way out of this. Nothing was ever going to help, and I was either going to drink and use to the point that I died in my family's house, or I was going to get sent to rehab. One of them would have to save me and send me to rehab, and luckily enough, my dad eventually did. I was desperate to get help, so when he offered to take me to rehab, I was very relieved. I felt like finally I was going to get the help that I needed. I went into Changes Rehab. I was lucky. It was the second facility that I'd ever been to. The first rehab that I went to was a nice facility, but they didn't introduce me to the 12 steps, and I left there without any understanding of my disease. Changes was a completely different experience. They encouraged me to do long-term treatment, and I think that truly was the turning point in my life. The 21 days in the primary care was amazing. I learned a lot about myself. I explored a lot of my behaviors. I came to terms with the fact that I was an addict and what that meant. I had a wonderful experience, but when I left that facility and I was given the opportunity to go and do long-term extended treatment, making that choice, which kind of wasn't my choice, it was offered to me, and I thought about going a different route, but the people that cared most for me decided this would be what's best, and I finally gave in and took the advice of people who cared for my well-being, and I did what they suggested I did. And going to the halfway house was a game changer for me. Not everything fell into place all at once. Probably took me about 6 months to truly accept that there was an entire lifestyle that I had to change. I had to change my behavior. But once I eventually did get to that point through working the 12-step program, it was an amazing experience. I accepted that I had a certain way of life that I needed to adopt, and this was going to be it for the rest of my life. And since then, I've been practicing that lifestyle and embracing it 100%, and it's turned my entire life around. I mean, at 32, most people don't get a second chance. I'm extremely lucky that I got a second chance, and I'm going for it full steam. And I've had the most wonderful experiences being sober. I've got my family's trust back. I've got my family's respect back. My dad actually referred to me not so long ago as the voice of reason in a family situation, which was never in the cards for me. And I've managed to build a life that I really treasure and value. I've got a job that I love. I've got friends that I love. I'm part of a community that cares about me. And everything that I have feels like it's actually safe. It's not just fleeting. I've managed to experience true happiness, not stimulated happiness. I've got friends that care about my well-being, and I couldn't imagine this life ever. This was never in the cards for me. So I'm so glad that I managed to get help. I'm so glad that I got out of the situation that I was in. I'm so glad that there's an ongoing program that supports me through this journey, and I'm truly blessed to be where I am today. Thank you.